Have a seat, Maya. Derek didn't look up from his phone. He waved a hand toward the uncomfortable leather chair across from his glass desk. My heart hammered against my ribs, but I forced a confident smile. Today was the day. 6 months of sleepless nights, skipped meals, and endless coding were finally going to pay off. I sat down and placed the thick blue folder on the desk. I have the final projections for Project Helios, Derek. The client is going to love the efficiency model. We're projected to save them 40% in the first quarter alone. Derek finally looked up. His eyes were cold, devoid of the praise I was expecting. He didn't reach for the folder. Instead, he pushed a single sheet of paper toward me. We aren't here to talk about your fictional numbers, Maya. I blinked, confused. Fictional? I ran those diagnostics myself. You can check the logs. I don't need to check the logs, he said, his voice flat. Because you're being let go, effective immediately. The room seemed to tilt. Is this a joke? Do I look like I'm laughing? Derek leaned back, crossing his arms. Gross incompetence. Data leaks to a competitor. We're lucky we caught it before the launch. That's a lie. I stood up, my hands trembling. I built Helios from the ground up. I would never leak data. Who told you this? I did. The voice came from the corner of the room. I spun around. I had been so focused on Derek that I hadn't fully registered the person sitting in the shadow of the ficus plant. Chloe? I whispered. My work best friend. The woman I bought coffee for every morning. The woman who cried on my couch when her boyfriend dumped her last week. She refused to meet my eyes, staring intently at a spot on the carpet. Tell her, Chloe, Derek commanded. Chloe took a shaky breath and finally looked up. Her eyes were hard. I found the unauthorized transfers on your terminal. Maya, I tried to cover for you, but ... I couldn't risk the company. My terminal? I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. You borrowed my laptop last Tuesday. You said yours was updating. Don't try to pin your mess on her, Derek snapped. He held up a report. It's all here. Documented and signed by Chloe. She's taking over as lead on Helios. At least she knows how to be loyal. She stole it, I realized, the horror washing over me. You too ... You're stealing my work. I'm saving the project, Chloe said, her voice gaining a sickly sweetness. You were always too emotional for leadership, Maya. You just proved it. I'm not leaving, I said, gripping the edge of the desk. I want to see HR. I want to see the server logs. Derek pressed a button on his intercom. Henderson, we have a trespasser. The door opened almost instantly. Mr. Henderson, the elderly security guard who always asked about my cat, stood there. He looked down at his shoes, his face flushed with embarrassment. I'm sorry, Ms. Maya, Henderson mumbled. They told me to escort you out. Henderson, you know me, I pleaded. You know I wouldn't do this. Please, Ms. Maya, don't make it harder. I looked back at Derek. He was already typing on his phone again. Chloe was inspecting her fingernails, looking bored. The betrayal hurt worse than the accusation. They had planned this. They had rehearsed it. You won't get away with this, I said, my voice shaking. I already have, Derek smirked. Leave your badge on the desk. We'll mail you your check. The walk to the elevator felt like a funeral procession. Henderson kept apologizing quietly, but I couldn't hear him. My ears were ringing. We reached the lobby and he handed me a cardboard box he had been holding. I packed your personal items, Miss Maya. I was careful with the picture frame. Thank you, Henderson, I whispered. He opened the glass doors and the humidity hit me instantly. I stepped out onto the curb. The heavy gray clouds that had been gathering all morning finally broke. Cold rain began to pelt down, soaking my blouse in seconds. I clutched the box to my chest to protect my things. I stood there, shivering, watching the cars rush by. I felt small. I felt discarded. Slowly, I turned around and looked up at the third floor. Through the rain-slicked window of Derek's office, I could see them. Derek was pouring 2 glasses of champagne. He said something, and Chloe threw her head back, laughing. They were toasting. They were celebrating my destruction. The tears finally mixed with the rain on my face. But as the cold seeped into my bones, something else ignited deep in my chest. It wasn't sadness anymore, it was a fire. Laugh while you can, I whispered to the glass. Because I'm not done. The phone buzzed against the hardwood floor somewhere near the sofa. I didn't reach for it. I didn't even look at it. 3 days. For 72 hours I had laid on this couch, staring at the water stain on the ceiling. The silence in the apartment wasn't peaceful, it was heavy. It pressed down on my chest like a physical weight. How could you? I whispered to the empty room. We ordered sushi together every Friday. No answer, just the hum of the refrigerator. My phone lit up again. This time I saw the notification. Bank alert, balance below $500. Panic, sharp and cold, clawed at my throat. Rent was due in 6 days. I pulled the blanket over my head, trying to hide from the reality. Bang, bang. Maya, open up. I know you're in there. Mark, I squeezed my eyes shut. Go away, I croaked. My voice sounded rusty, unused. The lock clicked. He still had the emergency key. The door swung open, flooding my dim cave with harsh hallway light. Mark marched in, carrying a greasy paper bag that smelled like heaven and shame. You look terrible, he said, kicking the door shut behind him. Thanks, I muttered, burrowing deeper into the blanket. I'm mourning my career. Leave me alone. Mourning time is over. He ripped the blanket off me. Sit up. Eat. He tossed a burger wrapped in foil onto the coffee table. I'm not hungry. You're lying. I can hear your stomach from the hallway. Eat the burger, Maya. He sat on the edge of the coffee table, blocking my view of the wall. Mom called. She thinks you have the flu. I didn't have the heart to tell her you're just wallowing. I was framed, Mark, I said, my voice cracking, by my best friend. She looked me in the eye and lied. So, what are you going to do? He asked, unwrapping the burger from me. Lie here until you starve? Let them win? That doesn't sound like the sister who taught me how to code. I can't fight them. Derek has money. Chloe has no soul. Tears don't pay the rent, Maya, Mark said, his voice dropping, becoming serious. And crying won't fix the past, but action will. You're smart. Smarter than them. Fat lot of good it did me. Eat, he commanded. Fuel up. Then get angry. Sadness is useless. Anger gets things done. He stood up and walked to the door. I'll be back tomorrow. If this apartment isn't clean, I'm calling Mom. The door clicked shut. I stared at the burger. Slowly, I picked it up. The first bite tasted like ash, but the second tasted like life. Mark was right. Action. I wiped my mouth and grabbed my laptop from the floor. It was a long shot. Corporate IT usually revoked access within an hour. But Derek was lazy and the IT guy, Tom, was overworked. I opened the browser. My hands trembled as I typed. Access cloud drive. Project Helios. I hit enter. I held my breath. Login successful. You idiots, I breathed. A small spark of adrenaline lighting up my chest. I clicked through the folders. I expected to see my old code. But then I saw the modified date on the budget files. Yesterday, I frowned. Why are they editing the budget logs after the project is finished? I opened the file. Rows of numbers filled the screen. Wait. I squinted. Client deposit routed to ... Shell Corp B? My heart began to race. These weren't project expenses. This was money moving out of the client account into an unknown offshore fund. That's not code optimization, I whispered, the realization hitting me like a truck. That's theft. Chloe didn't just steal my job for the promotion. She needed me out of the way so she and Derek could use my project codes to siphon money. I pulled out my phone and took a picture of the screen. I got you? I smiled, the first real expression I'd worn in days. I stared at the glowing screen of my laptop, the illicit bank transfer logs burning into my retinas. It was a smoking gun. It was proof. But as the adrenaline faded, a cold reality settled in. If I go to the police now, I whispered to the empty room, Derek's lawyers will crush me before the investigation even starts. He had resources. I had an overdrawn bank account and a cardboard box of office supplies. I didn't just need truth. I needed leverage. I needed a bigger stick. I opened a new tab and pulled up the website for Sterling Holdings. They were the massive conglomerate rumored to be acquiring Derek's agency. If anyone had the power to crush Derek, it was them. Time for an upgrade, I muttered. I opened my resume. I deleted the words team player. I deleted supportive. In their place, I typed strategic analyst, crisis management, and profit optimization. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the solution. 3 days later, I sat in a waiting room that cost more than my entire apartment building. Miss Vance will see you now. The assistant opened a heavy oak door. I walked in. The office was vast, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Behind a sleek black desk sat Elena. She didn't look up as I entered. She was scribbling furiously on a notepad. "Sit," she commanded. Her voice was sharp, like tearing paper. I sat. "Good morning, Miss Vance." She finally looked up. Her eyes were piercing, analyzing every inch of me in a second. "Your resume is aggressive for someone your age." "Strategic consultant, that's a fancy way of saying you tell people they're wrong." "It's a fancy way of saying I fix problems before they become disasters," I replied, keeping my voice steady. "You worked at the agency we're looking at," she said, leaning back. "Why leave?" "Rumor has it they're posting record profits." My heart skipped a beat. This was the moment. "Profit without foundation is just a bubble, Miss Vance. I outgrew the leadership style there. I prefer environments where data drives decisions, not ego." Elena tapped her pen against the desk. "Ego, interesting choice of words." She studied me for a long, uncomfortable moment. "I don't hire people based on resumes. I hire based on instinct. Let's play a game." "A game?" "A crisis scenario," she said. "Hypothetically. You're auditing a subsidiary. Revenue is high, but cash flow is lagging. The project leads claim it's just delayed vendor payments. What do you look for?" I almost laughed. It wasn't a hypothetical. It was exactly what Derek was doing. "I don't look at the vendors," I said immediately. "I look at the miscellaneous IT budget." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "If revenue is high but cash is low, money is bleeding out sideways," I said, leaning forward. "Lazy managers hide embezzlement in cloud storage fees or maintenance retainers because those costs fluctuate. They create a dummy vendor, bill for server upgrades that never happen, and route the cash to a shell account." The room went silent. Elena stopped tapping her pen. "And how would you prove it?" she asked softly. "I'd cross-reference the server timestamps with the invoice dates," I said, locking eyes with her. "If they're billing for maintenance on a Saturday, but the server log shows zero activity, you've got your ghost." Elena stared at me. A slow, terrifying smile spread across her face. "That is incredibly specific." "It's efficient," I countered. She closed the folder on her desk. "You're not a consultant, Maya. You're a shark." "Does that mean I didn't get the job?" "It means you start Monday," Elena said, standing up and extending a hand. "Welcome to Sterling Holdings." "Don't make me regret this," I shook her hand. "You won't." I walked out of the office, my legs shaking, but my head held high. I was inside the fortress now. Derek thought he had buried me. He had no idea he had just hired his own executioner. Vance wants the quarterly projections on her desk in 10 minutes. I didn't look up from my dual monitors. They're already in her inbox. I sent them at 6 a.m. The junior analyst standing at my cubicle blinked, stunned. "Oh, okay. What about the risk assessment for the merger?" "Drafted, proofed, and filed," I said, finally swiveling my chair to face him. "Is there anything else, or can I get back to work?" No, that's it." "You're a machine, Maya." He walked away, shaking his head. I turned back to the screen, allowing myself a brief, grim smile. I had to be a machine. At Sterling Holdings, weakness was blood in the water. For 3 weeks, I had arrived first and left last. I was becoming the person Elena needed me to be, efficient, ruthless, and invisible. But when the sun went down, the real work began. At 7 p.m., I traded my blazer for a hoodie and walked to a grimy coffee shop 3 blocks from my old office. I pulled my cap down low and took a corner table. 5 minutes later, the bell above the door jingled. Tom shuffled in. He looked like he hadn't slept in a week. His shirt was untucked and he had the desperate look of a man on the edge. "Over here," I called out softly. Tom collapsed into the chair opposite me. "Maya, thank God. I feel like I'm in a war zone." I pushed a double-shot espresso toward him. "That bad?" "Worse," Tom groaned, taking a massive gulp. "You got out at the right time. The place is imploding." "Is it Derek?" I asked, keeping my voice casual. "It's everyone. Derek is cutting costs like a maniac. He fired the cleaning crew yesterday. But the real problem is Chloe." My stomach tightened at her name. "How is the new project lead doing?" "She's a disaster," Tom laughed bitterly. "She calls me 5 times a day asking how to run the scripts you wrote. She doesn't understand the code, Maya. Yesterday, She accidentally deleted a client database because she bypassed the safety protocols. She deleted a database? I feigned shock, though inside I was cheering. Did she fix it? I had to fix it, Tom snapped. I spent all night restoring from a backup, and does she say thank you? No, she blamed the legacy hardware. She's drowning Maya, and she's taking us all down with her. That sounds dangerous, Tom, I said, leaning in closer. If she's making errors like that and Derek is cutting costs, are the financial records safe? Tom looked around nervously, then lowered his voice. That's what scares me. Derek ordered me to disable the auto-logging on the transaction server. He said it was slowing down the system, but that's a lie. That server could run on a toaster. He turned off the logs. I let my eyes go wide. Tom, if money goes missing or if there's an audit, there's no paper trail. They could blame IT. They could blame you. Tom's face went pale. I didn't think of that. He's the manager. I just did what he said. Derek will throw you under the bus the second things go wrong, I said firmly. You know he will. What do I do? Tom's voice trembled. I reached across the table and touched his arm. You need insurance. You need to keep your own copy of the server activity. Just the raw data. Prove that the system was working until they messed with it. I can't keep that on my work laptop. If they search it ... Send it to me, I offered, making my voice sound like a comforting hug. I'm out of the game. I'm just a friend looking out for you. Send me the anonymous logs every Friday. I'll keep them in a secure cloud vault. If they ever try to pin anything on you, we pull the logs and clear your name. Tom stared at me, searching my face. You do that for me? We're a team, Tom, even if I'm not there. He let out a long breath, his shoulders sagging with relief. Okay, I'll do it. I'll export the hidden kernel logs. They show everything, even what Derek thinks he deleted. Smart man. I smiled. Later that night, I sat in my dark apartment, the glow of my laptop illuminating the room, my inbox pinged. Subject, vacation photos. I opened the attachment. It was a chaotic stream of data, but to me it was beautiful. Timestamps, user IDs, deleted file commands. I saw Chloe's login attempting to access the restricted finance folders. I saw Derek's login authorizing transfers to a shell company called Apex Solutions. Gotcha, I whispered. I dragged the file into a folder labeled The Spider's Web. By day, I was building a future at Sterling. By night, I was digging a grave for my past. And Derek and Chloe were handing me the shovels. That suit costs more than my car, Maya. Invest in yourself, Ryan. It pays better dividends, I replied, not breaking stride. 3 months. That's all it took to scrub away the girl who cried in the rain with a cardboard box. I checked my reflection in the chrome doors. Sharp hair, tailored navy blazer, eyes like ice. The transformation was complete. I wasn't just working at Sterling Holdings. I was thriving. I pushed open the heavy mahogany doors. The boardroom smelled of leather and intimidation. The executive sat in silence, terrified. Elena sat near the front, calm as always. At the head was Mr. Sterling, scrolling through a projection, his face like thunder. Sit down, Sterling barked without looking up. I took the chair next to Elena. We have a problem, Sterling announced, his voice booming. The acquisition of Vector Creative is stalling. Their books are a mess. Every time we ask for a ledger, they give us an excuse. I don't like excuses. My pulse jumped. Vector, Derek's kingdom. I'm moving the timeline up, Sterling continued, pacing the room. We acquire them next week. I need a director of integration on the ground immediately. Someone to cut the rot out. I need an assassin, not a babysitter. Someone who can look at that staff and fire half of them without blinking. I have the candidate, Elena said, her voice cutting through the tension. Sterling stopped pacing. Who? Elena gestured to me. Maya. Sterling scoffed. It was a harsh sound. The consultant? She's been here 12 weeks, Elena. She's green. She's effective, Elena countered. She flagged the anomalies in their tax filings last week. She knows the data. She's also a former employee, Sterling said, pulling up my file on his tablet. He looked at me with cold scrutiny. Terminated 3 months ago. You're compromised. You have relationships there. Friends. Emotional attachments. If I send you in, you'll either try to save your buddies or settle scores. I need absolute objectivity. I don't have friends there, Mr. Sterling, I said, standing up slowly. And I don't have enemies. I have targets. The room went silent. Sterling's eyes narrowed. You think you're tough? He challenged. Walking in there to fire the people you used to eat lunch with? I think I'm the only person in this room who knows the truth, I replied, walking to the head of the table. You can send a stranger. They'll spend months looking for the leaks, reading the fake reports, listening to the managers lie. They'll waste your time and your money. And you won't? No, I said, leaning in close. Because I don't need to look for the leaks. I built the plumbing. I know which accounts they use to hide the losses. I know which managers are stealing. I know who is loyal and who is a parasite. I held his gaze, letting the cold fire inside me burn visible. Mr. Sterling, you don't need an auditor. You need a guide. And I know exactly where the bodies are buried. Elena smiled, a small, terrifying thing. Sterling stared at me for a long, heavy moment. He looked for weakness. He found only steel. You start Monday, he said. Don't leave any survivors. I intend to leave only profits, I replied. Subject, urgent variance inquiry, Q3 Apex Solutions. I typed the subject line slowly, savoring every keystroke. It was a simple email sent from a generic alias, auditteam@sterlingholdings.com. To anyone else, it was a standard bureaucratic request. To Derek, it was a death warrant. I leaned back in my ergonomic chair, the leather soft against my spine. My new office was on the 45th floor. The city looked like a circuit board from up here ordered, logical, distant, and Send, I whispered. I took a sip of Earl Grey tea, watching the steam rise against the glass. I didn't have to wait long. 3 minutes later, my personal cell phone buzzed on the desk. Tom. I swiped to answer, putting it on speaker. Good morning, Tom. You're calling early. Tom's voice was breathless, hushed, like he was hiding in a supply closet. What is happening? Did you do something? Me? I feigned innocence, swirling my tea. I'm just enjoying my morning. Why? Is the mood in the office not festive? Festive? It's a slaughterhouse, Tom hissed. Derek just sprinted out of his office screaming for the finance director. He looks like he's seen a ghost, a very angry, litigious ghost. Oh, I smiled, closing my eyes to picture it. What is he saying? He's yelling about an audit, Tom whispered. He's asking who authorized a review of the vendor list. He's tearing through filing cabinets. And Chloe? I asked, my voice dropping an octave. How is our new project lead handling the pressure? She's melting down, Tom replied. I just walked past her desk. She's sweating through her blouse. I heard her on the phone with Derek. She's trying to sell him a story about a glitch. A glitch? I laughed softly. That's creative. She's claiming the Apex payments were auto-generated by the legacy system, Tom said, sounding incredulous. She's blaming the code you wrote, Maya. She's saying your old scripts are malfunctioning and sending money to random accounts. My grip tightened on the teacup. She's still blaming me, even now? She's desperate. She asked me if I could wipe the server history to fix the bug. She called it a maintenance reset. And what did you tell her? I told her that server backups are immutable and stored off-site, Tom said, a hint of pride in his voice. I told her that if I deleted the local logs, it would just trigger a security alert at the parent company. She looked like she was going to throw up. Good work, Tom. Don't help them. Don't lift a finger. I won't. But Maya? Yes? It's intense, Tom said, his voice softening. I saw Chloe in the break room earlier. She was shaking. She looked small. It's kind of hard to watch. I paused. The image of Chloe shaking, terrified, cornered flashed in my mind. For a second, the triumphant fire in my chest dimmed. I remembered how we used to share lunch. I remembered her laugh. Was I taking this too far? Was I becoming a monster to defeat a monster? I looked at the rain streaking against my office window. Flashback. I stand on the curb. The cardboard box is wet. My hair is plastered to my face. I look up. I see them in the window. Derek is pouring champagne. Chloe is laughing. She throws her head back, toasting to my ruin. The guilt evaporated instantly, replaced by cold, hard steel. Tom, I said, my voice flat. Yeah? Did she look small when she signed the fake report that got me fired? Silence on the other end. No, Tom admitted quietly. She didn't. Then let her shake, I said. This isn't cruelty, Tom. It's gravity. What goes up must come down. If you say so, Tom sighed. I better go. Derek is screaming for me. Go, I commanded. And Tom? Enjoy the show. I hung up the phone and turned back to my monitor. The email was still there in my sent folder. I opened my calendar and looked at next week's date. Monday, integration kickoff. One more week, I whispered to the city below. Then I come knocking. You look like you're about to murder someone, Mark whispered, offering me his arm. Not murder, I corrected, adjusting the strap of the crimson silk gown that clung to my frame like liquid courage. Just an execution. There's a difference. We stood at the entrance of the Grand Hotel ballroom. Inside, the annual Tech Innovators Gala was in full swing. 6 months ago, I would have been in the back corner holding Derek's coat while he schmoozed. Tonight, I was the main event. Are you sure you want to do this? Mark asked, scanning the room. Never been more sure. We stepped inside. The room smelled of expensive cologne and desperation. I scanned the crowd, looking for one specific face, there, near the bar. Derek was frantically gesturing at a potential investor who looked bored. Next to him, Chloe was typing furiously on her phone, her shoulders hunched. She looked tired. Her gray blazer was wrinkled. Target acquired, I murmured. He looks sweaty, Mark noted with a grin. Go get him. I detached from Mark and began my glide across the floor. Heads turned, I wasn't the mousy analyst anymore. I was a force of nature in red. I walked intentionally close to their circle. Derek looked up, annoyed at the interruption, and then froze. His eyes widened. He did a double take, blinking as if his brain couldn't process the image. Maya? He sputtered, abandoning the investor. I stopped, turning slowly. Hello, Derek. Lovely evening. He marched over, his face flushing a mottled red that clashed with my dress. What are you doing here? This event is invitation only. Did you sneak in through the catering entrance? I walked in the front door just like everyone else. Don't lie to me, he hissed, lowering his voice. Security is tight. You can't just crash a gala because you're bored and unemployed. You need to leave before I have you escorted out. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing for whom? I asked, arching an eyebrow. You look a little flushed, Derek. Is the audit stressing you out? His jaw dropped. How do you know about Director Vance? A booming voice cut through Derek's interrogation. James, the CEO of Omnicorp and Derek's fiercest rival, strode toward us with a wide, genuine smile. Derek looked between us, confused. Director? James ignored him completely, taking my hand and shaking it warmly. I heard the rumors, but I didn't believe them. Sterling Holdings snatched you up fast. I was going to make an offer myself. You were too slow, James, I smiled, keeping my eyes on Derek's pale face. Well, Sterling is lucky to have you, James laughed. I heard you're leading the new integration unit. Ruthless work. Someone has to take out the trash, I said sweetly. Derek made a choking sound. Integration unit, you? James finally acknowledged Derek, looking down his nose at him. Oh, Derek, I didn't see you there. Yes, Maya is the new director of strategic integration for the parent company. Didn't you know? The color drained from Derek's face so fast I thought you might faint. He really looked at me and saw the predator behind the eyes. That's not possible, he whispered. Everything is possible, Derek, I said, leaning in close so only he could hear. I'll see you on Monday. I turned to James. Shall we get a drink? The air over here is a bit stale. Lead the way, Director, James beamed. I walked away, the silk of my dress swishing against my legs, leaving Derek standing in the middle of the ballroom, looking like a man who had just realized he was standing on a trapdoor. My phone buzzed at exactly 9:02 a.m. I didn't pick it up immediately. I took a slow sip of my coffee, looking out at the skyline. I knew exactly who it was. I tapped the speaker button. Report. Director Vance, Ken, the lead auditor, sounded breathless. We have a situation, Mr. Sterling. Derek is refusing to grant us access to the physical archives. He's claiming client confidentiality. Client confidentiality doesn't apply to the parent company, Ken. You know that. He knows that. I told him that, Ken replied, the sound of shouting audible in the background. He's physically standing in front of the filing cabinets. He's threatening to call the police on us for harassment. Let him call, I said calmly. But while he's distracted with his theatrics, I want you to pivot. Forget the cabinets. He's already shredded anything worth reading. Then where do we look? The people, I said. Derek treats his staff like furniture. He doesn't think they're watching. Is Sarah Jenkins in today? The intern? Yes, she's at the front desk. She looks terrified. Pull her, I commanded. Take her to a private room. Do not let Derek or Chloe follow you. Call me when you have her. Understood. The line went dead. I stared at the blank screen of my laptop. I could imagine the scene perfectly. The fluorescent lights, the smell of stale coffee, Derek sweating through his shirt while he screamed at men in suits. 20 minutes later, the phone buzzed again. I have her, Ken said. His voice was softer now. She's crying, Director. Put her on. There was a rustling sound, then a shaky, sniffly breath. Hello? Who is this? Sarah, it's Maya. Silence, then a gasp. Maya? Oh my God. Maya, I miss you so much. It's been awful here. I know, Sarah, I know. My voice softened instinctively. Sarah was a good kid. She brought homemade cookies on Fridays. She didn't deserve this. Listen to me. The people in the suits work for me. They aren't there to hurt you. They're there to stop Derek. He's going to fire me, she sobbed. He told us this morning that if we spoke to anyone, we'd be blacklisted from the industry. He can't fire you, Sarah. I'm his boss now. You are? Yes, and I promise you, if you tell the truth, I will protect you. But I need to know about the timesheets. The line went silent again, save for her ragged breathing. Sarah, I pressed gently. The timesheets for Project Zeus, the ones he makes you fill out on Friday afternoons. I didn't want to do it. Her words came out in a rush. He made me. He said it was just administrative overflow, but the project doesn't exist, Maya. We log 40 hours a week to a project that has no client. And who signs off on them? Chloe, Sarah whispered. Chloe signs them. And then Derek takes the billing codes and sends them to payroll. Did he threaten you? He said. He said if I didn't do it, he'd tell everyone I stole the office petty cash. He said he'd ruin my reputation like he ruined yours. My hand gripped the phone so hard my knuckles turned white. He said that? Yes, please, Maya, I'm scared. You did the right thing, Sarah, I said, my voice shaking with suppressed rage. Ken is going to take your statement. Sign it, then go home. You're on paid leave until I say otherwise. You're safe. Thank you, Maya. I hung up. I looked at the whiteboard on my wall. Step 1, financial proof. Done, the logs. Step 2, IP theft. Done, the code. Step 3, witness testimony. Done, Sarah. I picked up the thick black folder from my desk. It was heavy. It contained the server logs Tom sent me, the falsified Project Zeus timesheets Ken had just confirmed, and the original timestamps of my stolen work. It was the final nail. I stood up and smoothed down my skirt. I walked to the mirror and checked my lipstick. Perfect. I picked up my phone one last time and dialed Elena. It's time, I said. Do you want me to come with you? Elena asked. No, I replied, grabbing the dossier. I want to look him in the eye when he realizes he's dead. Go get him, Director. I walked out of my office, the heels of my shoes clicking against the marble floor like the ticking of a clock counting down to 0. The audit was over. The execution was about to begin. I bet the retention bonus is at least 20%, I heard Derek say through the heavy oak doors. His voice was smug, relaxed. Sterling Holdings throws money around like confetti. I just hope the new director likes me. Chloe's voice chimed in, nervous but hopeful. I spent all morning prepping the Helios data. I want to make a good impression. Don't worry, you two, Linda added soothingly. I've pulled the personnel files. We look like a dream team on paper. This meeting is just a formality. I stood in the hallway, smoothing the front of my skirt. My heart wasn't racing, it was beating with a slow, heavy rhythm. Thump, thump. It was the rhythm of a predator waiting in the tall grass. Dream team, I whispered to myself, a dark smile touching my lips. I took a deep breath, gripped the cold metal handle, and pushed the double doors open. The laughter died instantly. The three of them sat on one side of the long polished glass table. They looked up, smiles freezing on their faces like masks. Derek was the first to react. He stood up, his chair scraping harshly against the floor, his brow furrowed in annoyance. Maya? He blinked, looking around the room as if expecting a prank camera crew. What the hell are you doing here? Linda, the HR director who had watched me pack my box 3 months ago without offering a tissue, crossed her arms. Maya, this is a restricted executive meeting. You need to leave immediately. If you're looking for a reference, you should have emailed my assistant. I didn't come for a reference, Linda, I said. My voice was calm, cutting through the air like a blade. I walked past them. I didn't look at them. I kept my eyes on the empty leather chair at the head of the table. The seat of power. Maya, are you deaf? Derek snapped, stepping toward me. Get out before I call security. This is humiliating for you. I reached the head of the table. I pulled the chair out slowly and sat down. I rested my elbows on the glass and interlaced my fingers. Sit down, Derek, I said. The room went dead silent. The air conditioning hummed. Excuse me? Derek laughed, a sharp, incredulous sound. You don't give orders here. We are waiting for the director of integration. I know, I replied, holding his gaze. And she is waiting for you to sit down, Chloe gasped. Her hand flew to her mouth. No, double quote, she whispered, her eyes widening. Yes, I said. Derek looked from me to the door, then back to me. You're the director? That's impossible. You're a failed analyst. You were fired for incompetence. I was fired because you framed me, I said, my voice hardening. And I was hired here because I know exactly how you did it. This is a joke, Linda stammered, shuffling her papers nervously. Mr. Sterling wouldn't hire a former employee for a sensitive role. It's a conflict of interest. It's not a conflict, Linda. It's a correction. I reached into my bag and pulled out the thick black dossier. I held it in the air for a moment, letting them see the weight of it. Then I let it drop. Thud. The sound echoed in the silent room like a gavel strike. What is that? Chloe asked, her voice trembling. That, I said, pointing at the binder, is the retention bonus you were hoping for. Derek scoffed, trying to regain his composure. You can't scare me with a binder, Maya. I run a profitable agency. Mr. Sterling knows my value. Mr. Sterling knows you're a thief, I corrected. Excuse me? Derek slammed his hand on the table. I will sue you for slander. I will have your job. It's not slander if I have the receipts, Derek. I flipped the dossier open. Page 1. Unauthorized transfers to Apex Solutions. $300,000 siphoned from client accounts. Derek's face went pale. Page 2, I continued, turning the page with a crisp snap. Falsified timesheets for Project Zeus, coerced from interns under threat of termination. I looked at Linda. Did you know about the threats, Linda? Or were you too busy auto-archiving the complaints? Linda's mouth opened and closed like a fish. I never saw any complaints. Because you filtered them out, I snapped. I checked the IT logs. Negligence is a fireable offense, Linda. Maya, please, Chloe whispered, tears spilling over. I didn't want to do it. He made me. He made you steal my code? I asked, turning my cold gaze on her. He made you sign your name on my work and laugh while I was escorted out in the rain? Chloe choked. You're all corrupt, I said, closing the file. And you're all finished. Derek slumped into his chair, defeated. Wait, Derek said, desperation creeping in. Maya, listen. We can work something out. I can cut you in. 50-50 on the Apex account. Nobody has to know. I looked at him with pure pity. You still don't get it, do you? I don't want your money, Derek. I want your badge. I pointed to the door. You're terminated. Get out. You're firing me? Derek laughed, but it sounded like a bark. You can't fire me, Maya. I built this agency. I am the agency. You were the agency, I corrected, not moving an inch. This is a setup. Derek slammed his fist on the table, pointing a shaking finger at the dossier. These documents are forged. You hacked the system and planted them. I'll sue you for defamation, corporate espionage, and ... and fraud. Go ahead, I said calmly. The forensic team has already authenticated the metadata. The timestamps don't lie, Derek. I don't care about your team. He screamed, his face turning a dangerous shade of purple. I demand to speak to Mr. Sterling right now. Get him on the phone. When he hears how you're trying to sabotage his investment because of a petty grudge, he'll have you thrown in jail. No need for the phone, Derek. The deep, gravelly voice came from the shadows near the door. Derek froze. We all turned. Mr. Sterling stepped into the light. He didn't look angry. He looked bored, which was infinitely worse. Mr. Sterling. Derek scrambled out of his chair, smoothing his tie. Thank God, you have to listen to me this. This woman is unhinged. She's fabricating evidence. Sterling walked past Derek as if he were a potted plant. He stopped behind my chair and placed a hand on the backrest. I've read the report, Derek, Sterling said. But it's a lie. Derek pleaded, sweating profusely. She's lying to you. She speaks for me, Sterling said. The words hung in the air like smoke. Derek's mouth opened, but no sound came out. He looked at Sterling, then at me, and finally the reality crashed down on him. The bluff was over. Derek's stamina failed. He looked around the room, his eyes darting frantically. Then they landed on Chloe. It was her, Derek blurted out. Chloe flinched. What? It was Chloe. Derek shouted, pointing at her. She brought me the Helios code. She told me it was hers. I didn't know it was stolen. She's the one who authorized the transfers. I just signed what she put in front of me. You liar, Chloe shrieked, jumping to her feet. You threatened to blacklist me. You said if I didn't give you the code, you'd ruin my career. She's unstable. Derek yelled to Sterling. Look at her. She's trying to frame me to save herself. You made me falsify the timesheets. Chloe screamed, tears streaming down her face. You said we needed the money for the executive retreat fund. I never said that. I have the text, Derek. Chloe scrambled for her phone. I have the text. You called me at midnight telling me how to hide the money. They were screaming over each other now, faces twisted in ugly, desperate masks, the dream team. The people who had destroyed my life 3 months ago were now tearing each other apart like starving rats in a cage. I watched them, feeling a strange sensation. It wasn't joy. It wasn't even anger anymore. It was pity. They looked so small, so pathetic. Greed had hollowed them out until there was nothing left but fear. Enough, I said. I didn't shout, but the command cut through their screaming match instantly. They both stopped, panting, looking at me. I don't care whose idea it was, I said, standing up. You're both liable. Maya, please, Chloe sobbed. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Save it for your lawyer, I said. Derek, Chloe, you are terminated effective immediately. Security is waiting outside to escort you from the building. Do not return to your desks. Your personal items will be mailed to you. I turned to Linda, who was shrinking into her chair. And Linda, I said, you are under formal review for gross negligence. Go to your office and wait for the auditors. Yes, Director, Linda whispered, trembling. I pressed the intercom button on the table. Henderson? You can come in now. The doors opened. Henderson, the same guard who had handed me my box, walked in with 2 other officers. He looked at Derek, then at me. He smiled. Please escort these former employees out, I said. And Henderson? Make sure they don't steal any office supplies. The parking garage was silent, save for the rhythmic click-clack of my heels on the concrete. It was nearly midnight. The adrenaline from the boardroom had faded, leaving behind a dull, throbbing exhaustion. I just wanted to go home, take off my makeup, and sleep for a week. I rounded the concrete pillar toward my sedan. Maya. The voice was ragged, wet with tears. I stopped. Chloe stepped out from the shadows between 2 parked SUVs. She looked like a ghost of the woman who had sat in the boardroom hours ago. Her hair was messy, her mascara smeared in dark streaks down her cheeks, and she was hugging her arms as if she were freezing. You shouldn't be here, Chloe, I said, my hand tightening on my keys. Security escorted you off the premises. I hid, she sniffled, taking a shaky step toward me. I waited for you. I couldn't leave. Maya, please. You have to answer me. I don't have to do anything, I said, walking toward my car door. We said everything we needed to say upstairs. No, we didn't. She lunged forward, grabbing my arm. Maya, stop. You can't just ruin my life and walk away. I shook her hand off me as if it were burning. I didn't ruin your life, Chloe. You ruined it the moment you signed that report. I just turned the lights on. I'm in debt, Maya. She wailed, the sound echoing off the low ceiling. I have student loans. My car payments are 3 months behind. If I lose this job, I lose everything. I'll be homeless. You should have thought about that before you helped Derek embezzle $300,000, I said cold. Where did your cut go? Designer bags? Fancy dinners? I spent it on rent, on bills. She was sobbing openly now, her face crumpled and ugly. I was desperate. Derek promised me a promotion. He promised me safety. I was scared, Maya. I'm not like you. I'm not strong. I just wanted to be safe. So you sacrificed me to save yourself, I said. That's what it comes down to. We were best friends, she pleaded, her voice dropping to a desperate whisper. We were sisters, Maya, remember? We spent every Friday night on your couch planning our futures. We swore we'd run this city one day. Sisters don't destroy each other. The word sisters hit me harder than I expected. For a second, I saw the old Chloe, the one who brought me soup when I had the flu, the one I trusted with my secrets. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt something inside me snap. The final thread of our history severed. You're right, I said softly. Sisters don't destroy each other. Chloe looked up, a flicker of hope in her eyes. Maya? And sisters don't leave each other to drown, I continued, my voice hardening into stone. I stood on that curb in the rain with the box of my life in my hands, and I looked up at the window. You weren't crying then, Chloe. You were laughing. You were drinking champagne. She faltered, the hope dying instantly. I was pretending for Derek. No, I shook my head. You were enjoying it. You liked being on the winning side. Well, now you're not. I unlocked my car door. I'm gonna give you one act of mercy. Because of who we used to be. You'll give me my job back? She asked, desperate. No, I won't press criminal charges, I said. I have enough evidence to put you in prison for 5 years for fraud. But I won't send the file to the district attorney. Thank you, she breathed, wiping her nose. Oh, God, thank you. But there's a condition, I added, opening the door. You disappear. You leave this industry. You never put me down as a reference. If I ever see you again, if I ever hear your name in a meeting, I send the file. Are we clear? Yes, she whispered, her head hanging low. We're clear. Goodbye, Chloe. I got into the driver's seat and slammed the door. The sound was final. I started the engine and reversed out of the spot. In the rearview mirror, I saw her standing alone under the flickering yellow light, shrinking smaller and smaller until she was just a shadow. I turned onto the main road and didn't look back. It hurt, a sharp ache in my chest. As the city lights blurred past me, the pain began to fade. I was alone, but for the first time in months, I was free. No, center the desk, I instructed, pointing. I need to see the door. You got it, Director, the mover grunted, shifting the heavy oak table. The smell of fresh paint hung in the air, finally masking the lingering scent of Derek's cologne. It had been 2 weeks since the boardroom massacre, 2 weeks of cleaning house. Tom leaned against the doorframe, a genuine smile on his face. People are actually coming in early today. It's weird. Weird good or weird bad? I asked, checking the inventory list. Weird good, Tom laughed. The fear is gone, Maya. You fumigated the place. We still have work to do, I said, putting the tablet down. Is Sarah here? She's at her desk. She's been rewriting the Helios documentation since 7. Send everyone in, I said. Impromptu meeting. Tom turned to the open floor. All right, listen up. Director Vance wants a huddle. The staff gathered, 12 people, the survivors. They looked tired but alert. There was a new energy in the room, fragile but present. I won't keep you long, I began, my voice steady. The transition is officially complete. The secret ledgers are gone. From today on, this department runs on transparency. I looked at each of them. If you have a problem, you tell me. If you have an idea, you pitch it. We don't steal credit here. We build. Heads nodded, shoulders relaxed. And we reward talent, I continued, turning my gaze to the front row. Sarah, step forward. Sarah froze. The color drained from her cheeks. She took a hesitant step. Did I do something wrong, Maya? Quite the opposite, I smiled warmly. I reviewed your code patches. They were cleaner than Derek's ever were. I'm promoting you to junior associate. You're leading the back-end integration. Sarah's jaw dropped. But I'm just an intern. Not anymore, I said. Congratulations. Tom started the clapping and the rest joined in. Sarah covered her face, beaming. Okay, let's make some money. I dismissed them. As the room dispersed, my pocket vibrated. I pulled out my phone. Mark, Mom asked if you're coming for dinner. I told her you're busy running the world. Proud of you. I felt a lump in my throat. I typed back, I'll be there. Save me a burger? I walked to the massive window. It was a clear, bright day. The city sparkled below. I looked down at the street corner. The exact spot where I had stood in the rain, holding a soggy cardboard box, feeling like my life had been erased. I remembered the sting of humiliation. I remembered the laughter from this very window. I pressed my hand against the cool glass. I'm not her anymore, I whispered to the reflection. That girl was weak. That girl trusted the wrong people. That girl thought losing a job was the end. I turned around and looked at the office, my team, my kingdom. Getting fired didn't destroy me. It forged me. I sat down in the leather chair, spinning it once. I am the boss, I stated.